Hey beauties, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be testing out a new foundation and primer, both of which are from Gucci. This has been going around, this is a new release, and I've got to tell you, I'm pretty excited not to be using an eyeshadow palette. Granted, eyeshadow palettes are definitely my favorite, but I'm just ready for a change in pace, and yes, I did purchase the Fenty Beauty Powder Foundation, so that one will be coming as well. But for today, we're going over Gucci. I picked up two of the Natural Finish Fluid Foundations. One I got in shade 220N, which is the one I'm going to be wearing today, as well as 160N. I wasn't sure when I was looking at these which one to get, so I thought, hey, let's play it safe and get them both. And honestly, I can mix these because one of these is just a little bit yellow. I went ahead and picked up the primer mainly because today I am doing one of the biggest, if not the, it's definitely the biggest, the biggest declutter in my collection. I've been watching different videos, people just decluttering everything, and it's making me really want to do that. So I thought, hey, I know I'm about to get rid of a lot of different primers, so it's okay to get another one to test out. And I like hydrating primers. This is called the Gucci Silk Priming Serum. I'm going to get into the information on the foundation as well as the primer. Then I will get into a demo and I'm going to do an all-day wear test as I go through all these drawers. But let's start off with the foundation. You're getting the standard amount for a foundation, which is 30 mils, and it retails for $68. What it is, a natural finish foundation available in 40 different shades and developed for all skin types that can be worn in multiple ways for flawless looking complexion. Let me just go ahead and tell you, I have tested this through the ringer. This is not the first time I've put it on. I've tried it with a primer. I've tried it with a different primer. I've tried it on its own. And yeah, I have some thoughts. The coverage claim is medium. The finish is natural. Obviously, it is a liquid and it does come with a pump. And just forewarning, this does have a fragrance to it. I wouldn't call it overwhelming as in like HUDA, but it's definitely there. If you're somebody who does not like fragrance, you're not going to like this or the primer. It goes on to read, polymer technology provides a transforming texture for effortless application. Soft focus powder technology blurs the look of imperfection, large pores, and wrinkles. Glycerin, I love glycerin, a moisturizing humectant that improves skin barrier functions. Now for the Silk Priming Serum. This also has 30 mils, but it is $57. And again, it does come in a pump. Also, both of the tubes are glass. This one is frosted or has like a slight texture. I would say a frosted texture. This one's frosted as well, but it's smooth. This one you can definitely feel the texture on it. But again, both are glass, both are luxurious in the hands, they have a nice weight to them. The description for the primer reads, it's a primer that creates a luminous matte finish, visibly evens tones, and visibly plumps the skin while creating a soft glow effect. Powder technology imparts an elegant, silky texture for better blendability and a natural finish. It also minimizes the look of pores and evens skin texture. Suitable for all skin types. Before I get into the demo, I want to quickly swatch 160N and 220N. This one is 160, and I would say it's definitely, it's my winter shade, but just like a hair lighter. Show you that one. I could wear this when I have lost all of my tan, probably in another month, but I am wearing 220N today. Here's 220N. This one has a slight yellow undertone to it, but this one's definitely yellow. Both of them are supposed to be neutral, but yeah, they both have a slight yellow undertone to it, with 220 being just a little bit more. So if I was going to get my perfect match, I would have to mix these two. My initial thought process when I bought this primer was to do it on one side and then leave the other side blank, and I actually did do that. But I didn't notice a huge difference with the primer And we'll get into that whenever I get into my thoughts on the foundation, but I was trying to figure out a way for this foundation to work for me because some days it just looked absolutely atrocious. Other days I was like, okay, this is a nice, pretty natural foundation. Then today I think it looks its best. And I will tell you why. So let's go ahead and get into the demo. I'm not a huge fan of the primer all by itself. When it first goes on, it feels pretty silky, like it's gonna be a little bit more hydrating than what it is. This is what it looks like. It's just like a clear lotion type of primer. It smells good. I'm telling you, I would wear this as a fragrance. It smells really good and it feels nice. The thing is, as it dries down, like if it stayed like this gives me so much moisture, hydration. It feels nice. My skin feels so good. But when I allow that to sink into the skin, which is what I did today because I knew I was going in with another primer. I know, I did the most. I just wanted to test this out. So when I let this just sink in, I give it 10-15 minutes. I let my skincare sink in for 10-15 minutes and then put this on and do the same thing. I notice that matte effect. It says that it helps replenish the moisture barrier, which would lead me to believe that it's a hydrating, moisturizing primer, leaving skin hydrated and luminous. So yeah, I mean, obviously I'm going to think that. But then afterwards it says provides a soft focus effect, which minimizes the look of pores and evens texture. So what ends up happening, and I'm feeling it right now, it's starting to turn into almost like a powder. It's nowhere near as hydrating feeling as it was initially. I think that I would like this primer more if it felt the way it did in the beginning. And I don't feel like I saw a difference with this on, without this on, but I purchased it, so I decided that I wanted to see if I could figure out a way for it to work. As I mentioned, this foundation was hard for me to test out. It just was not working so many different ways. I tried it and tried it and tried. I even wore it to Pilates. And again, today is the best it has worn, and I have a 12-hour wear test for you. I know that now because I just finished it. But before I get into the demo, I just want to quickly let you guys know that I did put on my skincare. I waited about 15-20 minutes and then I put 2 pumps of the Gucci primer on one side and one on the other. And then I waited again to let it sink in because that initial slippery, hydrated feeling does not last. And what I found was when I put the foundation just directly on top of that, before it set into the skin, it slipped off. So that is why I went ahead and just let it sink in. But before I put that on, I know I skipped a step, I'm sorry. I went in with my MAC Skin Refine Zone. As always, these are steps that I do every single time I do my makeup. I put my MAC Skin Refine Zone on and then I put on my Milk Makeup Blur Stick. This time though, I did that after I applied the Gucci primer, but then after that, I took just a little bit more of my Milk Makeup Blur Stick and I just kind of pushed it right along the sides of my cheeks. Not as much. If you saw my updated foundation routine, not that much, but still just enough right around here because I was having issues right here. And I also extra wrung out my sponge. I mean, it is barely damp. Usually it's a little bit more damp than this, but because I was having separation issues and having issues with sliding around and things like that, I thought maybe I need to use something that's a little less wet. And on top of that, the brush, it was kind of pushing things into my pores. That really made it grab onto dry spots, so I just decided we're going to play around a little bit. This is the area on both sides of my cheeks that I was having issues with it wearing off. So I thought, hey, if I go ahead and I have my Gucci primer on and then I put on my Milk Makeup Blur Stick, maybe it would have just a little bit more for it to grip onto. Plus, when I didn't wear a primer or even just the Gucci one, I just felt like I had too much texture on my skin, so I wanted to combat that as well. And note, Every single time that I wore this foundation, except for once, I didn't wear a mask because I was around the house. The only time that I wore a mask was when I left the house to go to Pilates and do some errands. And no matter what, it was coming off of this area. So I was like, what is going on? Anywho, got my face primed, and now I'm going to take 2 pumps. 2 pumps is all I need, and I have a very lightly dampened sponge. I don't want to go in with the brush. It just doesn't work for my skin type, and then too wet of a sponge, it just moves everything around. So I went in, I stamped it on, moved it around, blended it into the skin, let it set up just a tiny bit, maybe 3 minutes, and then I went in on the areas that I felt like I needed a little extra coverage. That is one thing that's nice about this, is that you can add not too much, because if you add too much it will slip, but if you go in with just a little bit extra, kind of like you would with the concealer, then you probably won't have any issues. I know that I didn't. Now this camera, I have a new lens, a new camera, new everything, and I can't zoom, so I had to just get closer, had to pull my camera closer to me and had to get up closer to the camera, but this is close up with no powder on. I actually think that this foundation looks better without powder, which is not typical for me. Usually I like a foundation better with powder because everything is blurred, but I feel like the combo of everything, it looks very blurred, very perfected in a semi-natural way. I would say this looks a little bit more on the demi satin, maybe demi matte, something like that, but it looks really good on the skin. Afterwards, I went ahead and finished off my makeup, and here is the clip of that. Now let's go ahead and move on to the wear test, starting off with 4 hours. There's literally been no changes since I did my makeup. The only thing I noticed whenever I did my makeup was that I looked a little bit drier because I did not use any type of setting spray, hydrating spray, or anything like that, but my makeup still looks extremely smooth. I also do not have any oil breakthrough, but there is one thing. Something is clinging onto the side of my skin. I don't know what that is, but it has nothing to do with the foundation, so we're just going to disregard that. At 8 hours, I'm impressed. It never wore this well ever. The entire time I was testing it, it never looked this good at 8 hours. I'm telling you, I was shocked whenever I saw this. I might be slightly drier around my mouth, but that's it. Lastly, 12 hours. I could keep going. I mean, I could still keep going because I'm telling you, this just it's not moving. It's staying exactly the same. I feel like I found the magic concoction, but what I worry about is, again, this fickle foundation. With how much work I had to put into it to make it look this good, I don't think it's worth it. I don't think you should have to buy a primer. And in my case, 3 primers: the Gucci primer, the MAC Skin Refine Zone, and the Milk Makeup Blur Stick. Granted, I always have my Milk Makeup Blur Stick and my MAC Skin Refine Zone, but still, that's a lot of priming just to get something to work. So I don't feel like it is worth it, especially for a $68 foundation. One of the days I went in with my Tatcha Liquid Silk Canvas, but I sprayed my face with a setting spray or a hydrating mist because this foundation does feel dry to me. And the first 2 times that I put it on, it was itchy. So I thought, okay, well, if I put on a finishing spray or something that's hydrating, maybe that will help. And it did help the itching, but it wore down faster, which was I could not believe that had happened. That's never happened with my setting sprays. It's never happened with my Tatcha primer. So I don't know what is going on. Again, fickle foundation. I'm not sure if I mentioned this, so I'm going to mention it again just in case. But when I wore this foundation with 0 primers, nothing on my pores, nowhere, it's like it showed so much texture. it looked natural, but I feel like I actually would have looked better without any makeup on. And I don't think I have ever said that in my entire life. And I'm not being hard on myself. I'm just telling you guys like it is. When you put makeup on, you expect to look better. But I'm telling you, when I put this on with no primer at all, I wasn't feeling it. I left it on. Don't get me wrong, I left it on. But it wasn't cute. Plus, I felt so dry. Again, I did not use a spray. I did powder my face, but man, I could not keep the foundation on my face for very long. I want to say I kept it on for about 6 hours, and I was just scratching, and I think it was just because I was dry. I don't think it's any ingredients that are in the foundation. I just think that it was dehydrating my skin. This is supposed to be made for all skin types, but I gotta tell you, I honestly don't even know who this is for. I'm not messing with this. I don't like a foundation that I have to play games with. I don't like to have to sit here and think, is this going to look fabulous today? Is it going to look atrocious? I just don't like to play like that. So for me and my combo skin, this just isn't it. But with that being said, I don't even know who I would suggest this for because of how much work I had to put into it. I think that if you are dry, you're going to have to make sure that you're using a hydrating primer. And I wouldn't suggest the Gucci one just because of the dry down and that more of a powdery, still kind of silky, but it's a little in between dry and hydrated. I just wouldn't suggest this one. I would definitely say to go in with something that's more hydrating, but at the same time, when I used it, it just slid off of my face. But it could be, if you're more of a dry skin type, that it could help and this could work for you. Now, when it comes to oily skin, you might not need a primer at all. You could possibly just use the foundation. I just don't know. It's not a foundation that I like, so it's not one that I feel like, oh yeah, let me suggest this to somebody. Honestly, it's expensive. I would skip it. I'm not in love, and there's so many foundations that look so good that you just don't have to put this much work in. And do I think that everybody is going to have to do all of this? No. This is just my experience, and for me, it's just not worth it. Even though I really like it right now, it's just not worth it. Anywho, beauties, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not already, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye, guys.